Greetings, everyone. Often, something that we've noticed with humans and society as a whole is how people misidentify and misrepresent the things that they are trying to understand. For instance, the nature of reality. In order to understand the nature of reality, you must be able to distinguish between what is natural and what is unnatural. Often people can't make that distinction and they jump into the conclusion that natural ideas are based on concepts written by someone else as opposed to based on their own observation. For instance, when you look at the social dynamics and when people are choosing that they are either on the left or the right, they are liberal, they are whatever label, they are omitting the fundamental issue, which is the system itself is broken. So it doesn't matter what perception or what point of view that you're observing the system from, it's inherently broken. But what we find is that humans have found a way to use that as a means to defend being divisive as opposed to looking at the core problem, which is that the system is broken. Why isn't that people aren't discussing about how to fix the broken system? Instead, they are debating about who can see how broken the system is. So the ones on the left are saying a part of the system that is broken and they are correct. The ones on the right are saying a part of the system that is broken and they are also correct. But the problem is not seeing what's broken. The problem is not fixing what's broken. Because at this point, humans as a civilization can tell one thing for a fact, that the way humans are living is unnatural. But do they know the natural way to live? You have a group of people who believe in ideas written by primitive humans. So this is few thousand years in the future presently, and the humans in this present time are depending on definitions from primitive humans in order to make sense of the world they are living in today. Some people will only be able to enumerate any moral code to you by associating that idea with something a primitive man wrote 2,000 years ago. According to this book, according to Matthew chapter this, according to this, according to that, with your own two eyes and your personal observation about the reality that you're living in, is it that difficult for you to identify what is natural and what is unnatural? Do you always have to go back and refer to a 4,000-year-old book before you can agree or accept that, okay, there's something fundamentally wrong with that concept? And the concept that everyone is comfortable with, but no one wants to say a thing about it. In order to really understand the nature of reality, humans will have to design a energetic mathematical stimulation that will use mathematical modeling of the brain activity in order to extrapolate the source of vibrating imagination. Because that is what reality all is. The physical reality is a byproduct of imagination, but nothing in the physical world is the source of imagination. So in order to really extrapolate the nature of reality, we have to think beyond what anyone has written. We need to go outside our fundamental idea of what nature is. Because that part is also broken, because most people don't really understand their own self. It's easy to project love outside, but when it's time to love your own self, people have a really hard time doing that. So you have people who do not understand self-love or who cannot even nurture self-love are debating that they are not being loved properly, or they're investing all their time in loving someone else improperly. The same thing applies in every aspect of society, every aspect of human behavior. Not understanding enough, but yet making mandate based on limited information. It's just like the characters in a video game. Inside the coding of this video game, every character, every object in that video game exists as it has been designed to be. But outside the video game, you know everything is operating in a software. The chair, the humans, whatever you're seeing in the video game is a code written. So in order to see the world outside that video game, will they be presented with the CD-ROM, or will they be presented with the algorithm code that's been embedded, written in that CD before it can project this video game character or reality that you're observing from your 3D monitor? So you see, in order to really see or understand the nature of our reality as it is, we need to go outside the physical construct. And this is where your mind comes in, because your mind can go to where no shape or object can go. And when you look at everything in the entirety of the universe, the most sophisticated technology that ever exists is humans. So what's making humans not find that common ground or belief that, okay, there's something powerful about our mind, and in order to fix society, we need to start fixing the minds of the individuals cohabiting this ecosystem? It ought to be very clear. But once again, humans are avoiding the dialogue for solution, and you're just recycling that divisive habit of blaming each other or blaming something else, as opposed to taking responsibility to fixing that challenge, you see. So you're on the left, you're on the right, wherever dynamic of the label that you choose to represent, that's not the problem. The problem is not a different ethnic group. The problem is not even nations. The problem is the way we all see ourselves. And that's one of the hardest things for people to do. People who find it difficult to forgive themselves will find it 10 times difficult to forgive someone else. People who believe that the way reality is right now is the way it has to be will find it difficult in unlearning and becoming something new. If everything you knew got you to where you are, in order to go someplace new, you would have to edit or learn something new. And this applies to every human on this planet. If you really want to change your life, change your environment, you need to change the way you see yourself and your environment, and then the changes will start to manifest. Because physical reality is a byproduct of your imagination, and everything is simply vibrating imagination, and the source of that vibration is not physical. Understanding that we're all spiritual beings experiencing a physical environment gives you a step closer to the source of vibrating imagination. But first, you must come to the agreement that everything is imagination that is vibrating to the point that it has been materialized or actualized, because everything you see in the physical reality was once a thought form before it was created into a physical object. Outside your mind, everything is a construct of someone else's mind. So there's no point trying to open a book from 4,000 years ago in order to identify or measure the nature of reality if you have a mind. Those are the kind of things that computers would do, let's say in the future, and they're trying to understand the way this civilization lived. They will go through looking at the relics and the remnants of the past. But as a thinking human being with a mind of your own, you have the inherent power and responsibility to figure all these things on your own, because you have the only apparatus that is divinely designed to do so. So it's time to reclaim the power of our mind by feeding our mind with what's going to allow evolutionary concept to come in, as opposed to recycling the ideas of primitive humans. It's time we start empowering each other to discover the power of our mind. And that starts with sharing intelligent concepts like this, to allow people expand the way they see themselves and see other people, and also how they engage with the world that they are living in. because nothing physical is actually physical.